Hello friends, I have taken a long time to prepare this topic because of its importance and the large amount of information about what is coming out everywhere. Opinion article. Were manipulated election from Barcelona? They are the same companies as in the Spanish elections. We are living a film of electoral suspense. The sinister show is not fit for the heart. Lawyers resign after being threatened in Pennsylvania. The Simpsons predicted manipulated voting machines. Cheaters are so arrogant that they make childish mistakes. Our defense is to see everything as a film or political intrigue. The word thriller means to frighten, shake, or move an audience. It consists of the impatient or anxious expectation of the development of an action. Let's start. According to a report made on Thursday, 12 November at Fox News by the lawyer Rudy Giuliani, ex-mayor of New York, the company Dominion indicated as being responsible for the telematic manipulation of the results, although it is located in Canada, has in fact been created with the collaboration of the Spanish company Indra from the Venezuelan company Smartmatic. And not only that, but it also affirms that the computer hacking has been carried out from Barcelona, as reported by the newspaper El Diestro. The seriousness of these statements puts the Spanish government on the ropes, since not only would be fraud have been carried out from Spanish soil, but it's the companies Indra and Citil that were hired by Pedro Sánchez to carry out the recount of the Spanish elections, both the regional and the general election on April 28th and November 10th. According to a recent executive order signed by US President, we would perhaps be one step away from a casus belli for Spain having entered into an attack on US national security. I very much regret that my country is getting involved in this ugly affair. Twitter storm. Mrs. Sierra revealed today, Saturday, in an entry sent at 12:52 that the US electoral votes went to Germany. A US raid has taken place against the European software company Citil in Germany. Citil were servicing the voting systems of Dominion, sending the votes of the US elections to Barcelona and Frankfurt. Its servers have been seized. The US military has raided and seized servers in Germany that are linked to the electoral system of Dominion. Citil, a Spanish software company, was unduly hosting the electoral data throughout Spain with servers in Germany. It has now been raided and confiscated by the US military in Frankfurt. This anonymous person found a drop over Barcelona, the headquarters of Citil, the company involved in the alleged vote change. I just heard that Citil is based in Barcelona since September 7th, 2017. Children's mistakes. Children are so arrogant that they made childish mistakes that are easy to detect by any perceptive person endowed with mental acuity, cunning, and ingenuity. In the Spanish elections, there was not a single political party that asked to examine the source code of the software used to count the votes by a committee of computer experts, which leads me to suspect that they were not intelligent or that they were all in cahoots or collation. Nor was the law complied with in Spain, when the electoral records were not counted by hand as required by the regulations. Added to this is the news that lawyers of the president had resigned in Pennsylvania after being threatened with death and even threatened to reveal personal details of their clients. This style corresponds to the classic Chicago mafia of Al Capone and Treasury agent Elliot Ness, who became famous in the 30s for his fight to enforce the dry law. Capone was charged with 22 cases of tax evasion and nearly 5,000 violations of the Volstead Act prohibiting the sale of alcohol. In November 17, 1931, Capone was sentenced to 11 years and, after a failed appeal, began his sentence in 1932. He denounces. On Wednesday, 11th November, the whistleblowers from the Dominion voting software company came forward to claim that their software was programmed and changed 38 million votes. Rudy Giuliani, the president's lawyer, says the three whistleblowers have come forward and are willing to testify under oath about what happened. As of Thursday, November 12th, 3 of those whistleblowers and programmers were in protective custody, with sworn statesmen testifying about the Dominion voting system software. The computer scientists said they were ordered to deliberately program for cheating in a way that worked with the Hammer supercomputer, a scoring application that was created to launch elections by changing and deleting votes. According to sources in the intelligence community, the vote trading software Dominion was the first weapon of choice. Vote by mail was the second weapon of choice. That is why they froze the entire count on election night, because the software was not giving them the desired result. So they resorted to jars full of ballots that were delivered at 4 a.m. A letter from the Attorney General William Barr states that as of Monday, November 9th, the prosecutor himself has already been pursuing irregularities in the tabulation of votes, which implies that criminal investigation and arrests are being made. Attorney General William Barr voted by mail due to the high possibility of fraud, and he said this comment: "They were setting the stage for the sting." Barr explained, weeks before the election, the weakness inherent in a huge mail order voting plan built in haste. A Mexia social worker, Kelly Reagan Brane, who worked at the state-supported living center, was charged with 134 felonies for allegedly acting as an agent of voter fraud, announced Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton's office. If convicted, Brane faces up to 10 years in prison for these crimes. Research. Data analysis panels presents sufficient evidence to overturn elections. In an intensive week of work, several panels of professional data analysis, statistics, and auditing experts confirm that they have discovered enough cases of anomalies in almost all key states to overturn the 2020 presidential election. Throughout the week following the controversial U.S. elections, several working groups composed of professionals from various fields committed to seeking the truth and defending democracy have carried out tirelessly and investigate work to uncover cases of vote counting irregularities in order to present compelling evidence to serve justice in determining electoral fraud. Numerous incidents of anomalous activity during the electoral process have come to light in much of the country. The allegation range from false claims of waterline breaks in Atlanta, preventing normal border turnout, to deficiencies in the control of electronic voting machines used across the country. It is also being investigated for cases in which observers were not allowed to verify counts, cases of missing ballot boxes, and votes of thousands of people killed. In the case of the state of Michigan, one of the most controversial, the administration submitted 234 pages of affidavits, with at least 100 affidavits with several valid arguments about anomalies during the elections in different counties. Operation Sting. The President and the White Hats are in the middle of an Operation Stinger to expose the swamp. It will be followed by mass arrests of political and global elites named in 109 sealed indictments filed in several courts across the country since the President took office. Elite National Guard units were conducting a nationwide recount of ballots in the early morning before Sunday, 8th November. To avoid the trap, official ballots were printed with an invisible and unbreakable code watermark and registered in a quantum blockchain system. At the time of writing, 14 million ballots have been passed through a laser scanner in 5 states, 78% of which failed because there was no watermark to verify the ballot. Of those that failed, 100% had sought out Biden. An initial test showed that according to the watermarks on the validated ballots entered into the quantum computer, the President would have won re-election by more than 80% of the legal votes cast. The final validated vote counted it at that test 33.5 million votes against 25.9 million for the Democratic candidate, and that did not even take into account the votes of the Republican candidate that people observed being cast and never counted. Interestingly, these figures correspond to the Twitter accounts of the two men. Trump had 88.8 million followers compared to Biden's 16.6 million. The President speaks. The President says he refuses to have another confinement in the country, but hinted that there could be one if he loses the legal challenges he has filed after his electoral defeat to a Democratic candidate. The President, who spoke publicly for the first time since the election on Friday, repeated its argument that the government's restrictions designed to curb the bug cause more problems than they solve. But he made it clear that the decision may not be up to him. This administration is not going to go into lockdown, said the President, who has refused to concede defeat. Whatever happens in the future, who knows which administration it will be? I suppose time will tell, but I can tell you that this administration will not go to a lockdown. The President has won the state of North Carolina and its 15 electoral votes, repelling a tough challenge from the Democratic candidate and keeping the state for the Republicans. The victory in North Carolina brings him to 232 electoral votes, while his rival still has 290 electoral votes by supposedly winning the close states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Arizona. It's incredible. When all the media give victory to the Democratic candidate without having closed the vote count, while several electoral anomalies continue to appear, we constantly rub our eyes without fully believing the official narrative of the single thought. And this is not that one in an absolute supporter of the blonde president, who has not managed to fulfill all his electoral promises. but I consider it the least of the possible evils compared to the sinister crowd of the new dictatorial world order that is being offered to us as an alternative. Then comes the secret thing, and they tell us to cheer us up that you have to go through the darkness to get to the light. And 4 more years of the technocratic and injectable darkness comes to mind. No, please. We've had enough darkness and we are stuck. We are constantly being asked to trust the coalition, not to worry about anything, that everything is controlled by the allies. But that control is so invisible that it cannot be seen, and this generates all kinds of doubts and uncertainties. We see more positive things instead of asking for so much blind faith. We need evidence of the arrests they say have been made. At this moment, there is only room for trust in our Creator, who is the only one who does not fail. Uncertainty. But the worst thing of all is not that one of the other wins, but the uncertainty, the not really knowing who has won yet, because no one will have the final decision but the Supreme Court. But despite having overwhelming evidence of these electoral anomalies, the complaints to the courts are not being triumphant march because of the many obstacles the judges put in the way of demanding evidence, and because of the many lawyers on the Republican team who have resigned after being threatened in the traditional style of the Chicago Mafia. This spectacle of indefinition and contradictory news is not for the faint of heart, and the only defense we have left is to try and see it as a thriller. I remember as a young man watching horror movies and seeing Count Dracula sucking blood and laughing. It was my defense not to get involved in negative emotions. What we are seeing now is a film of political intrigue. Suspense. Suspense is the impatient or anxious expectation of an action or event, especially in a film, play, or story. Suspense thriller or thriller, which means to frighten, shake, or move, is a literary resource and wide genre of literature, cinema, television, and video games, whose main objective is to keep the reader waiting, usually in a state of tension, about what might happen to the characters, and therefore attentive to the development of the conflict or not of the narrative. Alfred Hitchcock is the master of suspense in cinema, and I remember when I was a child that they put his films in black and white in the old cinemas. They hung the sign "not suitable for the heart," because more than one of them would have a heart attack. The only thing that shook me was the sinister smile of the actor Anthony Perkins in the film Psychosis, inspired by the crimes of Ed Gein in a serial killer from Wisconsin. That role cost him his artistic career because he was not hired again for almost any movie since he was left with the image of a perverse and twisted being. Perkins died in 1992 at the age of 60 from pneumonia complicated by AIDS. I'm 70 years old and I hope to make a lot of noise if don't get injected with crap in my veins. I remember that when Bush Jr. won, they said on social networks, "Slit your wrists." But I refused to cut my wrists, and here I am, still fighting. We will continue to fight, no matter what. Opinion of Sidney Powell. Sidney Powell is General Flynn's attorney, but he is also working with the president on the 2020 election dispute. In an interview on 13th November 20 with Low Dobbs, Sidney Powell said, "I'm going to release the Kraken." Release the Kraken means kick the ass of whoever is releasing the Kraken. Good luck, Sidney Powell. Go get them. Sidney Powell on the president legal team promises to expose every single one of them. I will free the Kraken. Translation: all hell is about to break loose. My interpretation: the best lawyer in history is about to wipe out everyone involved in the deception of the legal voter. Excuse me. As one anonymous tweet about Sidney Powell's interview, it is much more than a choice. All I can say is that it's what Sidney Powell says is true. All hell will break loose. The fate of the Democratic Party and the media is at stake. Losing the election will be the least of their worries. Don Carlos' version. Don Carlos de Marbella says that the choice is not between two political candidates, but between God and Satan. That the oaks of the lowland swamp know that they are lost and desperate. Their system is falling apart at the wrong seams. They are attacking everything and trying to scare everyone. Don Carlos is convinced that the Chinese communists interfered with this election because they thought that they could change the result without firing a single shot. But the US military is supervising the counting of the votes, and you can't make jokes with them. The White Hats want to keep the launch of the currency adjustment silent and under the radar. People are burning documents at the Chinese consulate in Houston. China said the United States ordered its consulate closed in an unprecedented escalation, and witnesses said they saw papers being burned in the courtyard. Two scenarios. The most likely scenario from now until the constitutional deadline of December 14th is what a group of lawyers in Los Angeles has established. This goes to the Supreme Court, where they would rule that the election would not be valid due to possible anomaly or errors on a national scale. There would be two ways. Either they would rule that all unconstitutional mail on the ballots would be removed and the state would be ordered to recount the votes without them, or they would simply rule that the election wouldn't be valid due to possible election fraud. It would then be sent to Congress and the Senate for a vote in January 2021. Congress votes on who would be the president. It has nothing to do which party is in power. Each state has one vote. There are 30 states controlled by Republicans and 19 by Democrats. They have to vote against party lines. They have no other choice because of the 12th Amendment to the Constitution. The Senate would vote for the vice president where a similar event would take place. This is the law and there is no other. And that is why the Democrats are so angry with Mrs. Pelosi. The only way the president would not be president is if he gave up on re-election, and that would never happen knowing his determination in this fight. Don Carlos believes that the health crisis will disappear once currency restructuring and financial restoration begins. He feels that it is likely that the internet will fall in the very near future in order to make the transition from the old monetary system to the new one system, and that In such a case, it would no longer be 10 symbolic days of darkness, as we believed until now. Prophecies. The Simpsons predicted famous future events in their episodes, including manipulated voting machines. Finally, a reminder of the important role we, warriors of light, played before and during the storm. You are the calm before and during the storm, not just when the plan goes as expected. Stay together no matter what happens, and be the voice of the reason. When this is broken, many will not regret it. The mainstream media cannot be trusted. You are the voice. We are here to help guide. The future shows the past. You are the calm before and during the storm. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot for your patience.